SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Toyota Brookhaven services all makes and models. That could be why we were voted best service department the past 2 years. Come see why. Exit 40 Brookhaven or online at ToyotaBrookhaven.com. Great service, great savings. At Toyota Brookhaven, we deliver.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in on this Thursday edition of the Rebel Report podcast. My name is Michael Borky. Always glad that you are with me. Sorry we're not live tonight, but I did just record 15 minutes with somebody you may know, co-host of SportsTalk Mississippi, 3 to 6 every day, 12 stations across the state of Mississippi with me, Brian Hadad. Really good conversation. We previewed this series from the Mississippi State perspective, talked about an injury update, a pretty significant one for the Bulldogs, their lineup, pitching staff, how Arkansas was able to get to them a couple of weeks ago, and more. So a really good conversation. Mississippi State was impressive in the midweek in their win over Southern Miss. It's a good ball club, big test for Ole Miss. So we got a preview coming your way from the Bulldog perspective with Brian Hadad. Before I get to that with you, I want to remind you, invite you to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Just search Rebel Report and subscribe and leave a rating and a review. And don't forget to tell your friends that you listen to this and grab their phone and subscribe for them. They may like what they hear. We'll see. Who knows? But I appreciate you for being a subscriber. Also, right here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe here if you have not already. And leave a comment, a like, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. And I appreciate you for doing that as well. This edition of the show is presented by Logan Smith Shelter Insurance. If you are in Mississippi, anywhere in Mississippi, you need auto, home, life, or business insurance. Auto, home, life, or insurance for your business. He will take care of you. Give him a phone call, 601-823-3500, 601-823-3500. He wants to talk to you. Give him a call. You can get a quote, even if you have insurance, auto, home, life, or business. Even if you have that, what's a 5-minute phone call gonna hurt? You'll probably love what you have to hear from Logan Smith and Shelter Insurance. And do not forget when you call him to tell him that it was me that sent you there. Big series upcoming with Mississippi State. Crowds are going to be unbelievable, I imagine, there in Oxford. The weather, I think, upon last look, is going to be just unbelievable. Let's see. Pulling it up right now on the trusty weather app. Friday, high of 78, partly cloudy. Saturday, little chilly, high of 66, but the sun's going to be out. And Sunday, high of 77, completely sunny. So, yeah, beautiful baseball weather upcoming and a very important series for Ole Miss. As you guys know, Tuesday in Memphis did not go well at all. This lineup still is just remarkably inconsistent, and that inconsistency could be a problem this weekend with how balanced the State lineup is. But they're going to be without McPherson, their Friday night ace, and he's one heck of a pitcher as well. It's not ligament damage, as you hear us talk about in a little bit, but he will be out. Ryan McPherson will be out this weekend for Mississippi State. So something to keep an eye on. Have not seen it as of this recording and as of the interview, what their plans are in the rotation this weekend. But that's a big key in this series. I think Friday night's going to be paramount for Ole Miss. You have got to, especially if they don't alternate their next two starters, so they don't move them up, because they have an early series next weekend. And McPherson's probably not going to pitch next weekend either. So they would have to move those guys up and then move them up again. That may not be something that they want to do. But pitching advantage Ole Miss for Friday. They've got to win the Elliott game, and he's got to be super sharp, because this is a team that, again, 1 through 9 is going to put pressure on you. And Ole Miss has got to play clean this weekend as well, and the offense cannot disappear. It is I don't know if Mississippi State's better than Texas or not, but it is equally as difficult of a challenge. Luckily, it's in Oxford at Swayze. As you guys know, Mike Bianco and Ole Miss have struggled against Mississippi State as of late. It's a huge opportunity. This would be a massive series if they can win it. Really changes the conversation about what this team can be from a hosting perspective and things like that. Got to be clean in the field, which is something that they've struggled with. You can't have that fourth inning in game 2 like you had in Kentucky and beat this Mississippi State team. Elliott's got to be really sharp. Libert's got to be better. But, I mean, this Ole Miss team has the makings of one that can be good. They can win this series, but they have got to put together consistent offense for 3 days and they have got to play clean as well. It's a really good State team. You're about to hear about that in just a second. But major opportunity, big crowds, a chance to really change the conversation around this team if they can get a series win this weekend. So we'll see, of course, if they can pull that off. Also, spring practice getting started tomorrow, but the first media op for Pete Golding will actually be next week, next Tuesday, I believe. So looking forward to that anyway. But in the meantime, let's get to this interview with Hadad. We'll do that right now, and I'll see you on the other side. Here is Brian Hadad. All right, here he is. Unbelievably, you, the podcast listener, have never actually heard from this guy on the podcast feed before. You should be listening to him every single day on the radio show. But for now, here's your introduction. The one, the only, the GOAT.
Am I the first guest in this podcast history? I've been telling you to get guests forever. I'm the first one.
I've had guests, but you're
not
like
Keith
Catzel joined me
Golding,
sometimes.
not Keith Carter, not Deuce McAllister or Matt Corral. Mississippi State's own Brian Hadad, first guest on the Rebel Report.
I have done interviews on here, but they've all played on the radio show.
Oh.
So you're a first one-off, I guess, is really what I'm getting at.
I guess. All right, good to be here. Good to be here.
So you're here to talk about how we're going to name the hockey team that is coming to South Haven.
Yes.
And also, Mississippi State baseball, big series upcoming this weekend. We're just going to get it from the state perspective. So this will be a straight-up opponent preview, Mississippi State coming in. And really impressive win earlier this week. They have jumped all the way up to inside of the top 10 in the RPI. 4 losses. That's it so far for State this season. And just a really, really solid baseball team. Let's start with Tuesday. We talked about it on the show, obviously. But run ruling that Southern Miss pitching staff is super impressive.
It's 2 years in a row the series has been losing Hattiesburg, coming to Starkville, and run rule Southern Mississippi. I don't really know what to make of that, other than if I was a coach, I would tell the other coach, we're not coming to your stadium anymore. Really good win, though. And I thought the pitching was more impressive, right? State putting up 12 runs, bunch of hits at this point. I mean, they're the top hitting team in the conference. That's kind of par for the course. State getting 7 shutout innings from a bunch of bullpen guys, including a couple guys in Chris Billingsley and Jack Bauer who have struggled to this point. I thought that was far more impressive than anything they did at the plate. So, State's going to have to figure out some pitching this weekend because they're going to be without Ryan McPherson. As we're sitting here right now, they haven't announced the rotations, but O'Connor made it pretty clear McPherson's not going to be part of the plans this weekend. I don't know if State's going to move Valinkas and Stone up a day or if they're going to just try to figure out Friday and keep those two guys on Saturday, Sunday where they would normally be. But this is a good Mississippi State baseball team. And, their ceiling is much higher than good. Their ceiling is as high as it can get, I think. They just got to find a little bit more consistency on the mound, but their offense is as good as anybody in college baseball.
Let's start with McPherson. So, but beyond the expectation that he will not pitch this weekend, we learned after the Southern Miss game, there's no structural damage in the elbow, so that's a good thing for him, but it's described as a forearm strain. Is that the line right now? Okay.
That's what they're saying. So, he had a lot of people worried. They showed him during that USM game and he had on a brace from the bottom of his wrist to the top of his shoulder. And everybody's like, oh no, that can't be good. But, I liken it to, this too, like football players, especially, they'll wear a boot everywhere. During the season, they're always wearing a boot that just gives them a little extra support. I think that's probably what you were looking at there. McPherson had Tommy John before he got to Mississippi State. So that ligament is sound and structurally good. That's not the issue. He just had some tightness. Not going to pitch this week. Maybe won't pitch next week. And you hope that maybe by the time you play Tennessee, you can get him back into the rotation. So I'm not sure. Like I said, I've asked O'Connor. I asked him on Monday when we had him on Sports Talk. Robbie Falk asked him on Tuesday after the Southern Miss game. There's no real indication of what State's planning to do to get around the loss of McPherson this week and how they want to adjust their rotation.
Who are some candidates for that? You have, Charlie Foster has the most starts in midweek games, but you have a handful of others this season as well. Who would be is it as simple as Foster? That's the guy because he has the most starts, he starts midweek games, or what do you think is going to happen there?
Foster has struggled this year. He really has. And that was your original weekend rotation was McPherson, Valinkas, and Foster. And at 2 starts, he just wasn't getting it done. They went to Duke Stone. I don't know that they would go back to him. It would be an interesting thing because I know Ole Miss has struggled with left-handers. So he could be a situation where he has success. I don't think they're going to do that, though. The guy I keep coming back to is Maddox Miller, the freshman from Oak Grove, who has been good in relief for State. He has 20 strikeouts in 9 innings pitched. He can get strikeouts, and he has one of those breaking.
Just 2 walks on that 20 strikeouts, by the way.
Yeah, he's been really good. And, he was the guy in the Southern Miss game in Hattiesburg that threw the wild pitches. But I think now with Kevin Malewski behind the plate again for State, he's much better defensively. So you're not so worried about the ball getting away. You feel like you're sounder defensively. But it could be anybody. It could be a Parker Rhodes. It could be the one thing State doesn't have on this team. It's maybe different from like their national championship team is that team had a Houston Harding that could just come in and you could trust him to throw innings for you. The 2019 team had Peyton Plumlee, a guy you could just trust to give you some innings in the midweek if need be. They don't really have a veteran guy. The bullpen is a lot of youth, a lot of freshmen or guys who are their first time at Mississippi State. So I really don't have a great feeling on who they're going to throw one way or the other. But I would like Miller or Foster are both good choices, I think, because they're lefties. And I know that this Ole Miss lineup has struggled with the lefties. So that's why Saturday's game is going to be really interesting when you're facing maybe, I think Elliott and Valinkas are the 2 best left-handers in the SEC. They may be the best 2 in the SEC, regardless of what side of the ball you're throwing from. They're really, really good. So I'm interested to see how that pans out.
And then the other 2, and interesting fact for those of you that have not watched any Mississippi State baseball this year, Hadad mentioned Valinkas, Tomas Valinkas. He's good, 5-0 on the season, 1.04 ERA, a whip below 1, a batting average against of 174, really quality pitcher. But what's more interesting is he's got a brother on the team, and their last name is different. Now, there are people that are brothers that have different last names.
It's spelled the same.
It's spelled the same, but it's said differently.
Correct. Yes. Vitas Valencius plays right field or left field for State. Tomas Valinkas pitches for Mississippi State. And I don't know why they do it. I have never gotten a straight answer on that, but it is really weird. And I have to keep it in my brain. When I'm talking about the pitcher, I'm saying Valinkas. And when I'm talking about the guy who hits the outfielder, I'm talking about Valencius.
And where are they from again?
I think they're. We talked about this on the show. I think they're Lithuanian. I think that's right. One of the Baltic republics.
one of the Baltic republics. Illinois is where he grew up. But interesting stuff there. What do we need to know about those 2 guys though? About
Vitas, not likely to start, but he is a guy that can come off the bench for Mississippi State, and he's hitting over 400. He's got a little pop, but he's likely a pinch hitter or something like that. Tomas, on the other hand, you need to know because he's getting the start on Saturday, and he's been outstanding in SEC play. He was SEC Pitcher of the Week, got the win. The State's 1 win at Arkansas, and then last week 7 complete innings, 14 strikeouts. Probably would have been SEC Player of the Week if Alabama's Friday starter had not thrown a complete game no hitter. So that kind of took that chance away from him. He's been outstanding and has just been dominant all season long. It's almost a cheat code. This guy's a Friday night starter starting on Saturdays. And that's why if I'm Brian O'Connor, I'm not moving him. I'm keeping him right there on Saturday. I know Kate Townsend's been really good, but this guy has been awesome all year long. And I'd like to see him. I think he remains on Saturday.
And out of the bullpen, let's pretend for a second that come Friday night, State has a 3-2 lead, and it's the 8th inning. Who's coming out of the pen?
Probably Ben Davis is your first guy out of the pen. If you're talking about in a save situation, that's probably the guy you're going to go to. That's the one veteran in the group. The guy who was at State last year has pitched in some big innings. Closed out the game against Arkansas that they won, closed out a game this past weekend against Vanderbilt. That's probably in the 8th, especially if you're talking about you need to get a 6-out save, he can do that for you. You wouldn't try to extend him too much further than that, but if you're telling me I got to get 6 outs, I can trust Ben Davis to do that.
Turning over to the offense, and the numbers are just absolutely staggering, as we've talked about on the show. But if you just look at the raw stats of this team, it's unbelievable. The amount of, everyday starters with Bryce Chance hitting 452, 386, 375, 359, 344, 333. Ryder Woodson, what a bum, hitting 315. Valencia sitting 419, 387, 385, 378. These are all guys that start or regularly get starts for this team. If not every day, they're starting quite often. It's unbelievable how deep this lineup is.
It's really been something to watch. They lead the SEC in almost every offensive category. Some of these guys have seen their averages jump up big. Normally you think about conference play, guys who are hitting 350, 360. You look up 2-3 weeks into conference play and they're hitting 300, right? It just kind of tapers off because you're starting to see better pitching. Aiden Teal's average has jumped up almost 100 points since conference play has begun. Jacob Parker, the reigning SEC Player of the Week, his average has jumped up almost 100 points since conference play has begun. Bryce Chance, who hits ninth in this lineup, is the SEC's leading hitter. He's hitting almost 450 right this second. So as a college baseball fan and as a college baseball, somebody who covers college baseball, you don't see lineups like this very often. And they're going to, State's going to go as far as this lineup will take them. And it can take them pretty far. And that's the thing, if Ole Miss can't score this weekend, Ole Miss I don't think you can beat State in low scoring games. If you do, tip your hat. So you had one of the best pitching performances.
If they're going to beat State in a low scoring game, it will be on Friday with Hunter Elliott.
Yeah. Not that Townsend hasn't been really good this year, but I don't know that Townsend's faced
coming
anybody.
Off the injury and
stuff.
And
I don't know what his pitch count's going to be, things like that. So, that's what I was thinking about this earlier, Borky. Like, if State was playing, let's say they were playing Tennessee this weekend, right? And Tennessee had Ole Miss's stats, you and I would both be like, oh, State's got a great chance to sweep this series, right? They're easily going to win. And the other way around, if Ole Miss was playing, I don't know, Florida, and Florida had State's offensive stats, we'd be like, man, the Rebels are in big, big trouble. Big trouble. Mm-hmm. And because it's this rivalry, and there's this emotional aspect to it, we let that kind of blindside us a little bit or navigate our thoughts a little bit. Like, there's a reason State's going to be favored to win this series. Like, they offensively, they're just that good. And I feel like you're going to get great pitching from Valenkis. The Saturday game, if you said what game are you most confident State will win, it's Saturday. Because I feel like Valenkis will keep that Ole Miss lineup down and they'll hit. Sunday is usually an offensive day when you're talking about baseball, right? You saw this past week, or game 3, I guess I should say. State won 17-7 in game 3. Ole Miss won 12-9 in game 3 this past week. In an offensive game, I'm going to trust State a little bit more. So Friday is really key for Ole Miss. They have to beat State on Friday with Hunter Elliott.
Tend to agree there. Went on the road to Arkansas, and Arkansas is really good, and that's a tough place to play. Did get one, but what, quote unquote, went wrong in that series? How was Arkansas able to beat Mississippi State? And do you think Ole Miss can do some of the things that Arkansas did to get a series win at Swayze?
It's Arkansas has the best pitching staff maybe in the SEC. They are an elite pitching staff, and it's top to bottom. There's not a lot of weak spots when they're bringing guys out of the bullpen. They're still bringing in top guys. And State had a chance to win all 3 games, right? They tie it up in the 9th, and then they give up a walk-off home run to a guy who's hitting 180 coming in. Tip your hat. What can you do? The Sunday game, they led early. They couldn't knock the starter out. They had 3 runs, and it looked like they were going to chase him, and they didn't. And they let Arkansas hang around, and then they just defensively melted down. If you go back and watch that, and that's a common theme in all of State's losses, is State makes a mistake. It's not. There hasn't been anybody that just beat Mississippi State up, right? There hasn't been a game where they lose like 8-1 or the other team was just better that day. The UCLA game, the USM game, the 2 games against Arkansas, I can point to something that State did that allowed the other team to win. So that's the thing. When State plays clean, they've been almost unbeatable this year. They're 17-0 at home. They played clean in game 2 against Arkansas. That's the one that they won. But, UCLA, they hit a batter and they give up a home run. USM, they have 2 wild pitches that lead to runs for the Golden Eagles. The 8th inning against Arkansas, a couple of errors, and it just gets away from you. So when State plays clean, they're really, really tough to beat.
Enjoy yourself in Oxford this weekend.
I always do.
Are you staying at mornings with Richard Cross, host Richard Cross?
I have not received an invitation to Stately Cross Manor. So I'll just be making the trip back and forth.
They don't let people like us in that house. Okay, not overnight anyway.
They let me come in. Yeah, I've been there for a meal. I don't think I could stay overnight. They have to buy new sheets.
It's like the White House. You can tour certain parts, but where all the real stuff happens, you're not allowed in.
I'm not allowed in there. Yeah, I couldn't go in the Situation Room of Cross Manor.
I'll see you in like 4 hours.
Yep.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Really appreciate Hadad's time, although technically he has to give it to me since we work together, but still appreciate him nonetheless. This edition is also brought to you by Priority One Bank to make you their priority every day. Online banking outstanding, 16 locations in Mississippi. Bank with me at Priority One Bank, and also Advantage Business Systems, absms.com for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Really appreciate you guys. As always, we'll be back live on Sunday to recap this weekend, and then spring practice is going to get started, and we will get to have a lot of fun with that. A lot of hype around here with Pete Golding's team, and I think it's deserved. So we'll talk about that as well coming up on Sunday. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your weekend. If you're going to Oxford, be safe, have fun, enjoy the weather, and maybe we'll be talking about a series win next time you hear from me. See you then.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.